Good afternoon. I'm Virginia Adolph, and I am chairperson of the National Committee on Nominations and Leadership. And this afternoon, our illustrious president, President Mitt Joyner, has decided that all our members across the country and in our territories should have the opportunity to meet candidates for our national offices and our regional offices who will represent us in NASW for the upcoming term. As chairperson for the National Committee on Nominations and Leadership Identification, I've been given the task of posing queries to our candidates for our national board positions. I'd be remiss if I did not thank President Joyner, my esteemed colleagues on the Ncnli for their active participation and support, our administrative counsel and consultant on all things great and small, Mrs. Doretta Richards, the technical support team for this event, Ms. Aaliyah Wright and Mr. Greg Wright, the candidates for the respective offices of NASW, and you, the beloved members and supporters of our volunteer leadership organization, the great NASW. This session is intended to further provide a better perspective into the professional points of views of these candidates that have volunteered of themselves to take on leadership roles and the direction of NASW into the future. You are encouraged to utilize the content of this informational session to help you to make important decisions. Don't take this lightly. Important decisions in determining the legacy of leadership for our professional organization in the future. Candidates, such queries are intended to be answered in an adept, concise, yet comprehensive manner. Responses to the questions that I will pose to you should be no more than 2 minutes in duration in order that all our candidates, all 18, and the categories for positions might have ample time to actively participate. Should you hear the sounding of a little bell that I don't want to be intrusive, that little bell, it is time for you to end your response to a particular question. Because you know us social workers, might can talk just a little bit. If there are no questions, then let us begin. I have two questions for our president-elect candidates, and they are in order: Yvonne Chase and Karen Bullock. We will ask them to answer questions accordingly and answer them in a timely fashion. All right. Uh, Yvonne, you're on deck first. Okay. Based on the
All
information that
right.
based on the information that you shared in your candidate profile, what do you propose as plausible processes or actions that you want to promote to advance the mission and purpose of NASW? Based on the information that you shared in your profile, what do you propose as plausible processes or actions that you want to promote to advance the mission and the purpose of NASW?
Thank you. One of the things
Mhm.
that I said in my platform statement was that I believe that NASW has a responsibility to be working on all levels, to be working on an international level, to be working in a national level with our state chapters, and to be doing advocacy with Congress. We certainly have seen in the last few weeks the international concerns that we have in terms of Ukraine, and we have seen a number of our colleagues who are there volunteering. I think it's important for us to support and be a part of that global voice for individuals who are homeless and who don't have a voice. On a national perspective, and for our state chapters, I know that one of the things that NASW has begun to explore is how we deal with licensing across state lines. And I know from the training that I've done with a number of state chapters that this is a huge issue for clinicians, particularly those who are in contiguous states, and very often find their clients across in another state, or in the case of Alaska, where I live, we find our clients often are snowbirds in the lower 48 enjoying the warm weather. So just being able to find a better way for whether it's a reciprocal agreement between states, so that clinicians are not caught in the situation where they find themselves not licensed in a particular state and yet providing services to a particular client who has been in their state all along but is now moved, at least temporarily, in another state. So, on a practice level, I think that that's extremely important for us to look at and would be of great use to a number of clinicians across the country, actually, who have had serious difficulties with clients not staying where we think they are. Um, One of the issues, oh, and I'm hearing the bell, so I will conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question for you: how will you actively work to further promote and advance the engagement of social workers in our professional disciplinary organization at the national and state level? How will you actively work to further promote and advance the engagement of social workers in our professional disciplinary organization at both the national and state levels?
I think you were cutting out a little bit on the question, but I believe it was how would I work to advance our and promote our discipline at a national and state level.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Um, in a number of ways. Uh, One, in terms of networking, my hope is that we are able to resume in person meetings, at least to some degree, in the next year, because I think we have missed some of our connections in being able to do that. I think we need to support the sections that are so important within NASW, the professional specialty sections. Um, and my hope is that we also reach out to um, our colleagues who are in other disciplines, and really look at creating a national network that can move forward to support legislation and things that we feel as social workers are important, but we know that many of our colleagues are also feeling that those same issues are important on a policy and a practice level. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you. Thank you. Now we will hear from Ms. Uh, Karen Bullock, uh, Dr. Karen Bullock, with the same questions. Number one, based on the information that you shared in your candidate profile, what do you propose as plausible processes or actions that you want to promote to advance the mission and purpose of NASW?
Thank you for repeating the question. I am a strong proponent of building bridges, and I think that it would be crucial for us to think about increasing membership. I oftentimes encounter social workers, whether it's in a practice setting or in the classroom, who aren't members of NASW. And I think that it's worthwhile to think about how we can build bridges with social work practitioners that are not members, and those of us who are members can engage them and as role models to demonstrate what is it that causes us to engage in membership and what are the benefits of membership. So one of the things that I would really like to focus on is increasing the membership, because there's an abundance of social workers out there who aren't members. And when I talk with them about why they're not members, they don't readily see the benefit. And so I think that there's much that can be done to build those bridges between those of us, especially those of us who've been members for decades, and for those who've been in the field for decades but not members. So that's one area I'd like to focus on, and I think that that's some pretty realistic steps that can be taken in terms of that engagement. And then the other is to continue to focus on social justice and excuse me, and finding ways to create more interest conversion across groups who may not be infinity or belong to those groups, but ways in which we can come together and have a unified mission and work collaboratively.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The second question: how will you actively work to further promote and advance the engagement of social workers in our professional disciplinary organization at both the national and the state level?
I think that the platform that our President Joyner has created is one that would be a great springboard. There's been an increase in terms of the virtual presence, the podcast, and ways that we are using our sort of virtual spaces, if you will. I would like to build upon those as ways of reaching out to individuals and communities that heretofore we hadn't considered that we actually had that reach. And we can do that on a state level as well as on a national level. So I think that the groundwork has been laid for us to continue what has been presented before us in terms of the professional development and growth. I think it would be worthwhile to focus on the macro and meso level. As a licensed clinical social worker, I readily see the benefit of NASW membership, but I think we can do more to make a bridge or create a bridge for meso and macro level practitioners so that they too can see the benefit and this virtual reach that is present, and using various social media, but also, once things get better, hopefully they will with the pandemic, creating spaces where we can spend more time in the same places and spaces with those who are not currently members. And I think there's extensive room for growth in those areas.
Thank you very much for your answers. This concludes the questioning of our candidates for President-elect of NASW National. Thank you, ladies, for your participation. Bye-bye. At this point, we will hear from our candidates for Secretary, Member at Large, and then students. Our candidates for Secretary for NASW are Deborah from Faria, who is with us on screen, and Robert Arndt. And we're so pleased to have you both with us. And your questions are a little bit different. I hope you didn't write down what they were doing for president-elect, because they're just a little different. They are. And we will start with you, Deborah. We'll start with you with, what do you bring to the table as your most distinctive characteristic or contribution that will further serve to benefit our esteemed organization? What do you bring to the table as your most distinctive characteristic or contribution that will further serve to benefit our esteemed professional organization?
Thank you, Virginia, for the question and for the invitation to participate. So, I've been an NASW member for a lot of decades and have been really involved in the New York State chapter in different roles, as well as been involved on the national level. And I'm also involved in other organizations. I serve on the Commission on Accreditation for the Council on Social Work Education in New York State. I serve on the State Society of Aging. I think one of the things that I bring to the table is successful leadership skills in terms of collaborative abilities and bringing people together, and also in terms of I think in an organization like NASW, and having served on the executive committee in the past and on the board, I think we have a responsibility in terms of our really representing our members and having transparency in everything that we do when policy is set, and maintaining the fiscal viability of the organization. I think my experience serving on the audit committee and finance committee lends that, as well as I have good organizational skills. And so I think that's important as secretary in terms of documenting our decisions and what we're doing. Um, you know, for me, it's really about being a servant leader and really listening to what our membership is saying, and really representing what the current needs are of our profession, because our profession is always changing and growing. I think being a social work educator helps me as well in terms of staying fresh with my knowledge. And so I think that's been also helpful in terms of a willingness to kind of stretch myself in ways that to stay fresh in my own practice. And I think I bring that to the table as well. I think, sort of to wrap it up, I think the ability to really collaborate and work well with a team, and to really try to stay focused with what we're trying to do that really will benefit our social workers in state chapters as well as across our nation is just really, really important.
Thank you so much. The second question: why are you running for the position of secretary? And how will you best be able to appropriate your time and talents to serve on the board, to serve the membership, and represent your state at the national level for NASW?
Well, thank you for the question. So, as a social work educator, one of the things, it's like a three-legged stool. Certainly our teaching, our scholarship, but also what's valued is our service. And so I recently went up for a renewal, and one of the things the provost said to me in her written response is, continue your involvement in national service. So it's recognized by my university system as being a value, which also means that, when service is being recognized, I have the flexibility in how I structure my time to really, keep my focus and my commitments. And I've been involved in different leadership and service to NASW, both the state chapter level, as I mentioned, and nationally. And I understand that if you take something on, you really have to have the time and the commitment for it. And so, I think it's about how we prioritize our time, and I think it's honoring commitments that we make. So when I was nominated for this role, I had to really think about, did I have the time and the energy to be able to really put forth? And because to make that commitment, you have to honor the commitments. I have a record of doing that and serving in a variety of different roles through NASW as well as other national and state organizations. And I think being a servant leader for me is it's a part of my DNA, if you will. I think it's a way to give back, and it's a way to move forward in our profession, and it's a way to feel generative and to contribute that in meaningful ways, and something that I value. It's part of something that I value as part of my own value system as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your comments. Now we will hear from your opponent in this secretary election, Robin Arndt. Your first question is, what do you bring to the table as your most distinctive characteristic or contribution that will further serve to benefit our esteemed professional organization?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Virginia, and thank you, Deb, for your response as well. Excuse me. Thank you for the opportunity. Mahalo for this question. Hello and aloha from Hawaii. When I think about this question about my characteristics and what I can contribute, I think about how I navigate through technology, and I bring new ideas, but also communication. As I reflect on my statement, or my platform statement, having served now from Region 12 on the board of directors, and thinking through the challenges that I've encountered in being part of the board of directors, it's finding ways of increasing our transparency and communication, finding new ways of communicating, but also ensuring that information from the board is dispersed and is available for the members to learn about, to engage in dialogue and discussion with, and to utilize that in terms of our practice so that the membership can be engaged and will continue to be engaged. And, as our president-elect candidate said, increase the membership, increase the engagement. When I think of my communication skills, I tie them also with technology, thinking how we utilize certain platforms, but how can we leverage the platforms to really get out the message, but also to increase the engagement. There's been a lot of wonderful things that have been done in the past 3-5 years at the association, but I think that we can do more, and the membership demands more. We need to find additional ways of just helping to be servants to our members. And also, as I think, again, through my communication, our ability to hold one another accountable, to hold the association accountable so that we can be nimble and that we can continue to grow and thrive, and ensure that the profession is represented in all levels, state, local, and at the national level.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question, why are you running for the position of secretary? And how will you best be able to appropriate your time and talents to serve the board, the membership, and represent your state at the national level of NASW?
That is a really fantastic question, and one that I had to grapple with as I considered running. Coming from the state of Hawaii, and serving on the board over the last 3 years, there are many things that I've had to learn to be able to be nimble, to be able to be at meetings early in the morning, or finding a compromise so that I could ensure that I am able to meet the obligations that are there. And when I was when I considered running for this position, I did so because I felt that I still had things to give back to the association. I felt that there were things that I can do to help continue on trajectories that the board has put in place. But also I want to be able to give back. And so in answering this question, I think that I've worked to demonstrate this over the last 3 years through being from a small chapter and ensuring that the voice of smaller chapters is represented at the national level. I've come to appreciate the fact that there are many opportunities for engaging with the association, but not all of them are as easy to do when you aren't close to the association in terms of time zones or driving distance, so on and so forth. And so how can we help to make that easier. And a lot of it comes through communication, it comes through technology, but also in my position where I work, I've been afforded this opportunity to give back, to provide service, to find the ways of helping to be a representative of our area here in the Pacific and our chapter, but also to ensure that the voices are being represented and that there is that representation, if you will, at the national level as well. So great questions. And I think that you have a lot of wonderful candidates to select from. And again, I'm just grateful for this opportunity of being able to speak and share my views.
And we'd like to thank the both of you, Deborah, you and Robin, for volunteering to run as secretary. That's a tough job for our national board. And we're going to bid you adieu right now, and we will see you soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. At this point, we are going to hear from our candidates for member at large. And I must share with you our first candidate on the screen is Sylvester Jim Bowie. And the second candidate who is unable to be with us this afternoon is Warren Graham. And if it would be well with Sylvester at this point, since we will be posing questions to you, if you will allow me to read the platform statement to represent Warren Graham in his absence, if you will allow that.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much. Warren Graham's platform statement. My experiences with the association have helped shape my understanding of the association's responsibilities and contributions to the field. Those contributions include leveraging administrative, clinical, and direct practice experiences over 18 years to serve at the local and national levels. As Assistant Dean of Field Education, my role allows me to integrate policy, practice, and external relations to further student learning. I would like to highlight the relevance of field education by deepening linkages between students, schools, chapters, and national. We have a unique opportunity in this social climate to develop linkages and create opportunities to enhance the next generation of social workers' learning. To do so, we must reimagine the relevance of field education, collaboration, and change. As an agent of social change, I would also like to facilitate increased diversity and equity conversations to promote social justice and advocacy in a human rights framework. This is the platform statement from Warren Graham, who is a candidate for member at large, but he is not able to be with us this afternoon. At this point, we will hear from our candidate that is able to be with us, and we are to pose questions to you. Sylvester, your first question is, what do you bring to the table as your most distinctive characteristic or contribution that will further serve to benefit our esteemed professional organization?
Virginia, first, let me thank you for hosting this event and for your questions. And I want to start out by saying, in terms of what I bring, I think I bring experience. I think I bring a value for the profession as it relates to collaboration. I think I bring good listening skills. I think I bring an interest in our profession, and especially an interest in international social work. And I hope that some of the experiences that I've gained over the years working in the academy as a faculty member, as also like working in the trenches as a child protective services worker, that I'd bring that to bear to our organization that I believe in. I've been a member for more than 30 years. And even when it seemed as if I was maybe one of a few persons on the faculty that maintain membership within ASW, because most of us put pride in our CSWE membership. I always maintain my NASW membership because I know it is the organization that represents the profession. So I bring all of that. I bring a male perspective. I bring an immigrant perspective. I bring an internationalist perspective. And I think all of that would, in some, work to be of benefit to our organization. And I also come from, I say it with a little pride, from a big state, the state of California, having served here as president of the California chapter. So I bring that perspective to our conversation. And again, an interest in our profession and in the work that we do, and in the forward growth, as it were, of our organization.
Thank you. Thank you. Your second question: why are you running for the position of member at large? And how will you best be able to appropriate your time and talents to serve the board, the membership, and represent your state at the national level of NASW?
So that's an easy one, not an easy question, but it's an easy answer. Why am I running? I'm running because I'm interested in serving. I heard one of the candidates for secretary mentioned earlier on servant leadership. It is a principle that I subscribe to. I really believe in the serving part of this work. And so that's why I'm running, because I'm interested in serving our organization. Over the last 30 years of my professional life, I have always served organizations such as NASW because it's just what I do, it's what I believe in. I've served in my church, I've served in my alumni association, I've served the university in the faculty senate. I've served my department as an undergraduate director. I just believe in service, and so that is really what I bring here. In terms of appropriating my time, I have the pleasure of being retired. And please do not comment that I'm too young to be retired. I am retired. And so I have time. I've always found time before to serve. But one of the considerations in running that I said to myself is, now that I'm retired, I will have time to do more service, and not even waiting for opportunities like this. I'm currently actively involved in, now that we can travel again, in working in Ghana and in Jamaica in the capacity of serving. I'm working with the University of Ghana in East Legon with their agent project there, and hope to maybe appropriate some of the ideas from there to take back to our organization to look at how traditional elders and healers and herbalists like work with the aging population, because as a retiree, I'm definitely more aware of the fact that we are having an aging population, especially in our profession. and just to look at ways, not just at Western values in working with these populations, but to look at how other people like work with the elderly. So those are some of the things that I hope to appropriate and bring to NASW in my role. And I want to add this before I forget, that I really want to bring the ideas from my chapter. You know, you ask how will I serve my chapter, as to what the needs are, because sometimes I get the impression that big organizations do not spend enough time listening to what's happening on the ground, what the members want. Sometimes we have big ideas as to what we should be doing, but then when you speak with members on the ground, sometimes their interests might be different. So that's one thing I hope to bring to the national board if I'm elected. A sense.
Sylvester, I don't mean to interrupt you, but we have exceeded our time,
Okay.
and we want to make sure we maintain equity in this exchange so everyone has a chance to. We appreciate you taking the time to be with us this afternoon, and we just thank you for the time you've appropriated to this. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you so
enjoy the
much.
rest of your evening.
Thank you. At this point, we will have from our students, we have student candidates, but you know, it's the end of the semester. Those of you that are faculty members know that. Those students that are with us, you know that. Field instructors, liaisons, you know that as well. And our students this afternoon, our student candidates, are not able to be with us. Our first student candidate, I will read her platform statement, and that is Angela Medrano. Angela Medrano. Her statement reads, "What excites me most about my candidacy is the possibility of celebrating, empowering, and advocating for the student members of the association, student social workers who do the same deeds for so many others. Amidst this tumultuous time, racism, public health crisis, and increasing inequities, I am humbled and grateful for the opportunity to serve as a liaison between students, schools, chapters, and national whose values are rooted in social justice and, more critically, against systems of oppression. My experiences as a crisis counselor, art museum educator, and nonprofit administrator indicate that I will be an accountable and passionate board member if elected. I am thrilled to have the opportunity to turn dialogue into action as the potential MSW student board member of the National Association of Social Workers. This is the platform statement coming from Angela Medrano. Our other contender for this position is Amy Sinise Connors. Amy Sinise Connors. And she has worked with our technical support to provide a video we had asked them to do if they were not able to be with us in advance, to work with technical support to give us a 1 minute video of their views in running for candidacy. Miss Amy Sinise Connors.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, my name's Amy Sinise Connors, and I'm currently getting my MSW at SUNY Brockport in New York. I wanted to run for this position as the student member representative because I think that the experience of students coming out of school is a really important time for them to decide whether they want to participate with NASW. Sometimes it doesn't seem like folks understand the benefits that they're going to be receiving. And I wanted to have a voice within the organization that would represent more the diverse needs of students so that they feel like it's an organization that's relevant to them right coming out of school. I have a lot of experience with teaching around students. I have a graduate assistantship where my whole job is to work with students and understand their needs, their wants, their requirements for really making their experience as valuable as possible. And I feel like I do a pretty good job of fairly representing folks, even when I don't agree with their position necessarily, but finding ways to represent them nonetheless. I have a lot of experience with leadership. I'm a big member of the PTSA in my district in Rochester, New York. And I really want to bring that same kind of enthusiasm and energy that I've had for my children's school to students who are getting their master's in social work. So thank you so much, even just for this opportunity to run and to listen tonight. Thanks so much.
You have heard from our students, our student candidates for a position on our board. And as we greet our second group of candidates for positions, our regional positions, as they enter, I would remind you that voting is very important to our organization. Voting is very important. In fact, I have my election ballot right here, and I was saving all my decisions to be based on what I learned from our candidates and their professional and their personal visions and their plans for our organization. You can also look to Facebook. You can look to our Facebook site to get additional information. You can vote if you see it on the bottom of the screen, and you can go to our Facebook page, and then you can hook up the link as members of the prestigious professional organization for social workers. There's none better. And we ask you to do this and do it soon. Coming from the low country, we look at MPB, and they say vote, support MPB and support it often. I encourage you to vote as soon as possible after this wonderful, wonderful Meet the Candidate night. Thanks. We have, I think we have our candidates. They have miraculously appeared, and we are just so pleased to have them. Oh my goodness. We have positions for the position of Region 5, Region 5 directors. We are looking for director candidates at this point, and our first set of candidates come from Region 5. And the two candidates are Quincy Dennerson and Alice K. Lockyer. Quincy Dennerson and Alice K. Lockyer. And we want to hear from them. And I have a couple of questions for each of you. And if you've been on Facebook and you've been listening, I hope you didn't write down too much, because the script shifted. The questions are just a little bit different. Starting with you, Quincy, you're on deck, okay? Should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interest of NASW as a regional rep for which you are elected to serve. Should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interest of NASW as a regional rep for the area which you are elected to serve?
Thank you for the question. I think this goes back to earlier a little what Dr. Bullock stated, riding on the wave that President Midjourner has started with social media. I think that is our next wave of communication and reaching not just social workers that are not members, but as well as our students. We have to realize that in order to keep the flame lit, we need to build and we need to figure out how we can recruit and retain membership. And one way through that is with our students. And mainly looking at our undergraduate populations. How do we get them involved and get the buy-in to understand the importance of NASW? And that is key. And I think a lot of that would be with social media. How are we interacting with Instagram, Twitter, Facebook? Can we do things via conference, via Snapchat? How can we make, I like to say our learning of our professional body 3D and more mobile for our students and accessible? That would be a major point.
Thank you. Your second question: why do you want to run for the position of region rep?
Well, there's one main reason is if I may quote this from Dr. Whitney Young, I'm not anxious to be the loudest voice or the most popular, but I would like to think that at a crucial moment, I was an effective voice of the voiceless, an effective hope of the hopeless. So I hope to bring that voice for us in NASW and keep this, not just keep it as a hot topic of ADEI, but figure out how we can actually evolve our social work practice to the next level. Because the time is right for social work and the time is now. But what is that time looking like, and how can we evolve that into a better, to a more sustaining profession is what I want to be involved in. So that's why I want to run.
Thank you so much for your consideration of running for the position. We are happy to hear from you. And now we'd like to hear from your opponent for the seat of Region 5 position would be Alice K. Locklear. Alice, there you are. You have the same questions. Should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interest of NASW as the regional representative for the area for which you are elected to serve?
Thanks for the question, Virginia. Communication is extremely important, and sometimes communication can be quite difficult. There's a need to find multiple ways to communicate, and one of the ways that I want to do that is to reach out to each one of the state chapters of Region 5 to increase the understanding of what a director of Region 5 is all about. It's not about checking in and seeing what may be going awry or you're doing well, but rather it's building that bond of relationship. We're all with NASW. And I also want to reach out to students and hear their perspectives and bring that to the table as well. And having those liaison positions is a really good way to hear what's happening, to hear what the needs are, and to hear maybe what we need to have discussed in our board sessions that are not being discussed at this point in time. What is it that our local, state levels need, and how can we at the board help each of our states get the information that they need in order to deliver all the resources and opportunities that are needed across their region, their areas, for the entire region and then the nation.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So, why then do you want to run for the position of region rep?
Virginia, the reason that I want to run for Region 5 is because I want to see me be able to be an active participant in what I've been able to have a start at, being appointed to the board. I want to be able to genuinely give back in this position, because I know that as an Indigenous woman, there are very few who have the opportunity to share what is happening from the Indigenous perspectives across our social work profession. I'm a social worker who believes that when we have a gap in the services that we provide to our clients, that means that there is a voice that's needed to be brought to the top. And NASW gives that opportunity to hear the voices of those, not just Indigenous, but all of those voices, to increase their volume. And to me, that is hugely important. And we can do that as Region 5 director. I can reach out to each of those local chapters and have that communication and find out what it is and how we need to address those needs of those voices that are not heard, or those spaces that are not seen, those policies that are not talked about, that are affecting a huge part of our population. So I want to give back. Social worker is who I am. That's my passion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Alice Kay, for your contribution and for volunteering. Quincy, as well, thank you. Thank you for placing your name in candidacy for the Region 5 position. And we wish you both the best. Thank you. Next, we will proceed. I think we're moving right along, y'all, to the Region 7 position. Region 7. Region 7. Region 7 candidates are Carol Campbell Edwards and Anthony J. Hill. And we want to pose for them the same questions. Carol, you being first, should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interest of NASW as the regional representative for the region for which you are elected to serve, Region 7?
Thank you so much. So first of all, my approach would be to listen first, because I don't necessarily know what would be the best communication plan. I have 6 amazing and distinct areas which I would be representing. So I would want to know from them how they would like that communication to happen. So I would begin by listening in, contacting all 6 of those areas and finding out from the executive directors and chapter presidents and membership. I'd like to have some open dialogue from members to find out about how frequent they would like communication to happen. Based on that initial assessment to gather some information, then I'd like to evaluate what are all the tools that NASW National has that would be at my disposal to use, which social media is available, if there are virtual platforms that we could utilize to have some regular collaborative conversations. That is something that would really fit for me and my personal style. So as the former president of NASW Florida, we had an opportunity to put in place, of course, during COVID, some different communication plans. And what I found is that we have diverse membership and we have all ages. And so I want to pull in those students, but I also have members with lots of experience who may not be at that same 20s and 30s. So I want to make sure that they're included in the communication. So for me, it's about reaching out with the broadest brushstroke, pulling in everybody, and then deciding how we move forward together.
Thank you.
Sure.
Your next question. Well, why do you want to run for the position of region rep? Why do you want to run for region rep for Region 7?
Thank you. Okay, so I asked myself the very same question. And, you know, as busy as I know we all are, we all have enough to do. But for me, it's about my responsibility to my profession. So I've been a social worker for a long time. I've been licensed since 1992 in the state of Florida. I have a great career in child welfare, and then now, of course, as a faculty member. And so I have all these experiences along the way. And so I feel like it's my responsibility to give back and to share that through leadership, because I know that through great leadership, members get great representation. So I really see it as carrying forth what the members in Region 7 need to say, what kinds of actions they need taken, what they need expressed. And so for me, I would be in that position to carry forward the concerns as well as the accomplishments of all of the dynamic social workers and associate members who are in that Region 7. So I would look forward to doing that. And hopefully we'd be able to build a very strong team.
Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll hear from your opponent in this race for the Region 7 position, Anthony J. Hill.
Thank you, Virginia, and a special shout out to the members of Region 7.
Your first question, should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interest of NASW as the regional rep for the region in which you are elected to serve, for Region 7?
Thank you again, Virginia. Well, I have a bit of a blueprint already. I had the privilege of serving as the regional rep for Region 5. And so I understand the importance of making that connection between the 6 chapters in Region 7 and the national office. I understand the importance of meeting members where they are in terms of using social media, having as many face-to-face encounters as possible, and making sure that I not only talk to members, but listen to members and bring their concerns back to the national board, as well as take what I can from the national board back to the membership. So it's all about using different mechanisms of communications and meeting the members where they are.
All righty. question number 2 for you. Why do you want to run for Region Rep of Region 7? Why do you want to run?
Oh, if anyone knows me, they know that NASW is part of my professional DNA. I actually, one of my first jobs was at the national office at NASW. And because of that job, I became a social worker because I understood through that job that the values of the profession were so aligned with my personal values. And so I've always been active in NASW. I've held several chapter positions in the Metro DC chapter, including chapter president. I also currently am a member at large on the South Carolina board. So I am so committed to serving NASW. I'm particularly committed to serving the 6 chapters in my region, particularly the smaller chapters, the CDF chapters. Part of my role when I was an employee at NASW National was to work with those chapter development fund chapters, those small CDF chapters. And so I have a voice, and I will use that voice on the national board to continue to advocate for the smaller chapters in Region 7, as well as all members in Region 7.
Well, thank you to the both of you. Thank you to the both of you for placing your name in candidacy for the position of Region Director for Region 7. We have a comment coming from our esteemed president. We have a comment that you all see. That's what I'm talking about, President Mitt. Practicing what you preach. That's pretty good. Thank you so much. Our next set of candidates hail from Region 11. Region 11, we have 2 candidates for the position, the Region 11 position. They are Latonya Scriven Charles, and we have Jessica Hope. And I do not see Jessica with us at this point. I don't see her with us. So, Latonya, may I ask your indulgence so that I might read her platform?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Jessica Hope's platform states, "It is a privilege to be a candidate for the NASW Board Region 11 position. After military service, I returned to the South as soon as I could and am excited at the opportunity to tackle issues impacting our region. I am passionate about linking the macro to the micro, sharing the impact of high-level policies on individual people. My breadth of work spans from national policy influence, local government planning, and a myriad of corporate, military, law enforcement, and nonprofit experience. I am known for leading with extreme ownership, fierce belief in the goodness of others, listening intently, and saying hard things with the coming with love. I ask the same of those around me and bring these values with me into this position. You can count on me to advocate for our profession and meet complex and challenging topics head on." This is the platform statement coming from Jessica Hope, who was not able to be with us this afternoon. Our other candidate that has given us liberty to read her statement first is Miss Latonya Scriven Charles, candidate for Region 11. And the questions are, should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interests of NASW as the regional representative for which you are elected to serve, that being Region 11, should you win?
Thank you for the question. I am honored to be here, and I appreciate you all setting up this platform for us to be able to share our thoughts and ideas about our positions. If I am elected to this position, my goal is that, well, my hope is that we will be able to return to in person, and we will be able to travel to see one another and hold events, meetings, as such as our regional meetings and conferences in person, so that we can be more transparent with one another and communicate with one another on the needs that serve our communities that we live in. However, as we know, we're still living in this pandemic, and to piggyback on a few others from our president Mitt Joyner, utilizing those social media platforms, utilizing podcasts, and engaging with our members that way will also help to keep everyone informed as to what is going on, to listen to what the needs are in the different areas that I will be serving. There are 4 areas that I'll be serving, and I would like to hear from everyone, the membership, those that are in leadership, those that are brought in from the community, so that we can understand what we need to provide in order to become a stronger organization.
Thank you. Thank you. And the second question for you, why do you want to run for the position of region representative for Region 11? Why do you want to run?
Well, just as Anthony mentioned earlier, those that know me know that I have a strong desire to serve the profession. It is second nature to me to volunteer, to serve, and give back to the community, but give back to the profession. I want to be able to also allow for greater transparency and work with the state associations to build a stronger network amongst social workers. As a strong advocate of the profession, my goal is to bridge those gaps that we see within universities, businesses, as well as with the communities. But we know that we need to bring in our students so that they can also have a voice. But they are also the ones that will pick up from where we leave off. And so building that strong foundation with our students, as well as I call them our diamond seasoned social workers, those that have been in the profession for a really long time, for decades. I want to be able to bridge that gap, because we know that they will give back to those students, and the students will be the ones to pick up from where they left off. And so that is the reason why I would like to run, simply for my passion for the profession, as I love what I do and will continue to help grow the profession as best I can. Thank you.
We thank you, Latonya, for your comments and for you deciding to place your name in candidacy as in contention for the Region 11 position on the board. And we just say thank you, and thank you for your time this afternoon.
Yes, thank you. You all have a great evening, and best to all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, y'all, we are coming to the third and final phase of our Meet the Candidate program this afternoon. I'm seeing that we might have some time upon our candidates making either their platform statements or answering questions as they're posed. I would ask for you to make sure that you vote. But if you have additional questions, if you will place them, and our tech team will help us facilitate and try to get answers for you, and we will pose those questions if we can to our candidates to try to seek answers And you see that's our administrative tech right there. When we got a question, she's going to be there to answer. Doretta Richards, we can't do without her on Ncnli and NASW in general. Voting ends on May the 27th, but don't wait. That's her number one statement. Do it and do it now, okay? So please help us pick our leadership with adeptness and as expeditiously as possible. At this time, we have our candidate, one of our candidates for the Region 12 position, Dr. Esther Langston. And the other candidate for that, in contention for that position, for the Region 12 position, is not able to be with us. Dr. Langston, will you allow us to show the video that was provided by Michelle Plisky, and in brief, and so then we can ask you the questions that are held for our region candidates.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. If we can have our video from the second candidate for Region 12, Miss Michelle Plisky.
Let me just start again. Hello, my name is Michelle Plisk, and I'm running for the Region 12 Director position. I hold a master's and a doctoral degree in social work, social policy, and practice. I currently am a social work educator, researcher, and the director of field education at the university that I serve. And I work at the community level, working in a nonprofit where I'm a clinical supervisor and provide on-the-ground support for children and families impacted by adversity and trauma. It's my core philosophical belief to work at the micro, meso, and macro level practice for social work. I believe as social workers, we serve our community best when there's an open dialogue and collaboration for policy, which is impacting our direct practice. This role as Region 12 Director is an opportunity to enact change within NASW to better support social workers who are providing direct care to their clients, communities, and the constituents who are impacted by governance, which is failing to account for social determinants of health, marginalization, systemic racism, and environmental injustice impacting our nation. NASW is a powerful organization, one which has the capacity to make significant change. Fundamentally, NASW is an organization for social workers led by social workers. Working within leadership in this capacity offers me an opportunity to draw upon my background, my practice knowledge, and contribute to a system which can better serve its community. Thank you for your consideration and for your vote.
And I need to apologize, even in her absence, I destroyed her name. It's Plisk instead of Plisky. So we want to make those proper apologies to Michelle. Now we will hear from the candidate that is here for that position, running for that position, Dr. Esther Langston. And the first question for you, Dr. Langston, should you win your candidacy, how do you plan to promote communication and engagement in the interest of NASW as the regional representative from which you are elected to serve?
Good evening and thank you. If I'm elected, I plan to use technology and all other means necessary to hear the voices of the diversity that Region 12 represents. Region 12 consists primarily of CDF chapters. And how can we combine our resources in order to advance the goals, objectives, and the missions of NASW, and to have their inclusive voices heard and supported in the organization? Thank you.
Thank you for that answer. The next question is, why do you want to run for the position of regional representative for Region 12?
I asked myself that same question when I was looking at the application and making the decision to run. I want to run because I want that region to be heard. I want their diversity and inclusiveness to have a real seat at the table. I want their issues and concerns addressed in a manner that will support them to, as I said, to continue to further the mission of NASW and to serve our membership. I have heard so much. What does NASW do for me? Why should I join? And I want, hopefully, to help all of the chapters in that region to be able to answer that in an affirmative so that they may grow their membership and promote the programming that their members need in order to be effective in their mission and in their work.
Thank you so much, Dr. Langston, for your answering the questions this afternoon and being with us in this forum. We will bid you adieu for now, but we hope to talk soon. Have a good evening.
Good evening to you all also. Thank you.
And now we will ask for our candidates for the National Committee on Nominations and Leadership Identification, of which one is with us this afternoon. Now, this committee is near and dear to my heart, and I've learned so much on this. So you know you're going to get some tough questions, and you're going to get some different questions from anybody else. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Now, we do one of the candidates. Our candidates are Waterika Bell, and Neil Sinha. And Neil is with us, yet Waterika is not with us this afternoon. So we will be reading her platform statement. She writes in her candidacy, "You do not make progress by standing on the sidelines, whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas." That is taken from the words of Shirley Chisholm. "I am honored to have been nominated for the Region 7 Ncnli representative position. I've been a long-standing member of NASW and have held leadership positions at the national and the local levels. Previously, I served as an alternate member of the Ncnli and the North Regional Representative for the NASW Georgia chapter. As such, I am working diligently to cultivate and innovate strategies to engage members and ensure that we have representation at the state capitol during the legislative season to proactively represent the interest of members. I am running for Region 7 Ncnli rep to be a liaison between national and local chapters to ensure efficient communication, improve member retention, and recruit qualified candidates for leadership opportunities. If elected, I will strive to ensure that NASW's policies align with social work's core values. Thank you for your support." That is coming from Waterika Bell as her platform statement. So we have with us the opposing candidate for that position, Neil Sinha. And Neil, you get the pleasure of getting new questions. You're ready?
Yeah, I'm very ready. How are you today?
Good. Why do you want to run for a position on Ncnli, the National Committee on Nominations and Leadership Identification? I want to hear it.
Well, let me first say it was an honor to be nominated. I really, it was just, I was really blown away by the nomination and being part of this process. Why I want to be in this role and why I was nominated or why I was happy to be nominated is I want to continue being in the serving a role in the NASW and taking it a step up. So for the past 2 years, I've served as the BSW and then MSW representative for the state of Florida in the Florida chapter. And I wanted to just move forward in my somewhat career in the NASW and keep being involved and just move up because I started at the unit level and then I moved forward. And the NASW has just done so much for me as a not just as a student, but as a social worker, even though I just, I am an adult, so I changed my career to social work. But, as a adult that's in, my beginning of my 40s now, I think I brought a specific lens to the career as someone who went back to school. I mean, there's many of us that went back to school later in life to become social workers, but I just I see a disconnect between academia and then the NASW and then professionals. So I feel like there needs to be a connection brought. And I think that finding the right candidates and getting to them, speaking to them in a way that they can understand, even at the beginning, when they may be starting out in academia, and speaking to what really inspires them and getting them done and getting them to get hooked and seeing all the benefits and all that the NASW stands for, and getting them to, getting that to pull them in and getting them involved, and then moving that forward, and then just taking and really translating everything so that people at all levels can understand and can work together.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next question is, what does becoming a National Committee on Nominations and Leadership Committee member, what does that mean to you?
That's definitely a unexpected question, and that would actually mean a lot to me. It has been a whole roller coaster to get here for me in my life, and especially in the past couple of years. This would be a sign of success. It would be a sign of accomplishment. It would be, you made it through. You're not only improving yourself as a student and as a social worker, but you're going to, it would just show that I not only can, I don't know, God, it would mean so much to me, because I always saw myself as strictly clinical, but as I evolved in my career, I see myself enjoying social work policy and enjoying just NASW and being involved in that aspect of the profession. And then I see myself now in my community working with like social justice. And there's just so many aspects of social work. When I first started my BSW program, I doubted if I chose the right profession, because I thought for sure I wanted to be in psychology or mental health counseling. But now where I am, there's the various aspects of social work, and I've just embraced every single one of them. I can be pretty quiet socially, individually, if it's for my own self-serving benefits. But when it comes to wherever I am, if I feel like there's someone that's not being spoken for, a community or, a group of people, then I will just, there's no, I'll be polite and I'll be reasonable about it. But, I will never, I have to speak up if I feel like someone's not being spoken for. And I just feel like this position would help me to see that I embody what the NASW stands for, and that I can see the same thing in the other people, or that people believe that I could, and I can get them to have, so that we could have the right candidates in place so that we can move the NASW forward. Because we are in a new chapter of everything, for the NASW in our country, in our, our local units, I know no one wants to hear about the pandemic anymore, but it changed everything. And that was when I started with the NASW. It was right before the pandemic. So, we have to learn how to do everything differently, and we're still in the process of changing it. So just to be part of that and to help be part of the change would be exciting. And it would be, now that I turned 40 this year, so just second half of or new start and everything, it would mean the world to me to be a part of it. And it would mean a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this afternoon.
Thank you.
I don't know of a finer committee assignment than Ncnli. It's probably one of the most gut-wrenching and tedious ones, but I'm telling you what, serving on Ncnli is really ensuring the legacy of our organization. And we thank you for placing your name in candidacy, as well as Waterica, who is not able to be with us.
I hope to be a part of it. I do.
Thank you. Thank you. This concludes our candidate review, and for you all to see them up close and personal, I want to just thank our illustrious president, President Mitt Joyner, for the idea of having this program, so that all of the members of NASW have an opportunity to just take an up close and personal look at our candidates and what they have to offer, their ideas, their vision for the future of NASW. It has been a pleasure to serve as your host for this event, and it has been an experience in serving on Ncnli. I just want to thank again our technical support team for their guidance, their direction, their patience. Besides Miss Aaliyah Wright, Mr. Greg Wright, Miss Danielle Spears, and I never can, I would be remiss if I did not include Doretta Richards, giving us guidance and direction on a regular basis. You have until May the 27th to vote. Please vote. Please vote. Go ahead. You've seen the candidates. You've heard their perspectives. You have their candidate profiles. Please check. You have the NASW advocate. You have that. You have a full profile of each candidate. We need you to do this expeditiously. Without any further ado, I'd say good afternoon from the Low Country, from Hurricaneville down in South Mississippi, serving to represent Region 10 on the Ncnli and serving as its chair. Good evening and blessings. Bye-bye.